Howdy, y'all. I'm about to sing you a song about a guy called Frankie. It's kind of a sad song, actually. I wrote it a little while back, and I wrote the words a little while back, and then I decided since I took up playing guitar. This, by the way, I usually introduce my guitars. This I've called Caramac. It's named after a brand of chocolate in in England called Caramac, caramel flavored. This color actually, chocolate. Anyway, that's another story. This is a song about a fella called Frankie. I've said it's a sad song. You'll see why it's a sad song. The story tells the story, if you know what I mean. And I've also kind of given a subtitle which is Cherchez la femme, or Cherchez la femme, should I say, if I'm going to be strictly correct on the gender. Cherchez la femme. And that means, if you know your French, you don't need me to tell you, but it's if you don't know your French, I will tell you. It means look for the woman. It implies that behind some men's failing, shall we say, is oftentimes there's a lady involved. I mean, on the other side of things, there are some people that cherchez la femme could mean success, but usually this phrase, cherchez la femme, means something else other than success. But anyway, I'll let the song tell its own story, okay? I don't know the words yet, so down here, out of sight here, I've got the words. So forgive me for looking down, but that's the way it's going to have to be. And I apologize for my guitar playing in advance, too, just in case I hit a few wrong notes, which I'm inclined to do sometimes. Frankie. Frankie was a country boy, had dreams of being a star. And by 10 years old, he could play a mean tune on his uncle's old guitar. He copied songs off the radio by men like J.J. Cale, who sung about his old dog Clyde, who had a tambourine tied to his tail. Frankie was a one-man band who held the future in his hands. His voice was sweet, his soul was kind, and he had a little smile on his face all the time. So far, so good. By 17, he'd made the grade, and he was playing gigs in bars. And the people in his hometown said they thought that he'd go far. With his James Dean looks and his long brown hair, his t-shirt and Joan jeans, the girls would come from miles around, would catch his eyes and scream. Frankie was a one-man band who held the future in his hands. His voice was sweet and his soul was kind, and he had a little smile on his face all the time. Still good. Still doing all right, Frankie. Wait for it. But one day, let's try again. But then one day a lady came by the name of Lula May, who took a shine to our young man and whisked his hideaway. She seduced him with her cheap perfume, and she coaxed him with her cooking. So that by the time he was 22, he was kinda homely looking. He'd grown out of his sex appeal, and his voice was like a growl. And his old guitar had broken strings, so it couldn't make a sound. So he turned around, his little smile replaced it with a frown. Poor Frankie. Frankie was a one-man band who held the future in his hands. His voice had been sweet, his soul had been kind, and he'd had a little smile on his face all the time. Yes, he'd had a little smile on his face all the time. Poor Frankie. Cherchez, the femme. Be careful out there.